Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon if you want to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we're currently in the interim stages between two debates, so I'm going to raise the mic on the panel and you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever the hell is in there while I set up for the next live show. While I mention it, there is a live show that takes place on a Thursday and Friday on my second channel, which is called Nathan Oakley, which is where this show will go out live, today being Friday. So you are actually in the Sunday audience on Nathan Oakley 1980. However, if you did want to watch these shows live, you can go to Nathan Oakley. There is a link to that channel in the info box below this video.
Discovered. You can't discover something that, like, if man made it, it's like, okay, that's it. So I understand what Nathan is saying. I understand what Arwen is saying as well, but you have to really get down to the nitty gritty. What are we really trying to figure out? What are we really trying to discover? And something that is man-made, it's not really a discovery. Whereas, like, when you're observing the physical, like the natural world, as in nature, producing certain things.
I don't know.
Like, so it's like, that's what I'm saying. The definition of unnatural is something that is man-made. So you can't really include that in, like, whether you're talking about science or whether you're talking about the colloquial meaning of the word. So you have to, does it make sense?
How could you ever make scientific sense of electrics that way? You can only derive it from natural causes in an experiment.
That's electronics.
Why are we still discussing this?
I know, that's electronics. That's technology, isn't it? It's not science.
So there is no science for electrics.
Well, no.
It's not scientific
No.
Nothing electrical.
No. You haven't let me answer. Many of the technologies are derived from science. That doesn't mean that the process of putting them together and making them into functional devices is scientific in any way, shape, or form. It's not. But that's not to say that certain aspects or components might be derived from things that have been explored, exposed, or revealed through the scientific method.
Exactly.
But how has that been done in experiments without man-made devices then?
How many times have we explained this to you? What this is like trying to have an argument over the color yellow. I mean, come on, people.
It's asking questions, deepening the information, really.
How many times? I already explained this to you personally, Arwen, more than 10 times. The dependent variable has to be natural. That's it.
I know. That's not an explanation. That's a declaration, by the way.
Oh my God. Okay, Arwen, share his screen. I want you to give us a natural. I want you to give us
I don't need a presentation.
Method.
I've heard
I
it
want
all.
you to do it.
I've heard
give
your
an example,
arguments.
right? You freaking crayon muncher. This is retard stuff.
Shut up, John. Stop berating me. I'm not here for a discussion about this with you.
Retards know this. We're trying to have intellectual discussions. Now we have to go back to second grade.
No, you're berating people as soon as they don't.
Because you're a moron.
People agree with every word you say.
Oh my God.
That's what happens with you, John. With everyone, me included. So
Quantum Racer, you just call people morons.
Good day, because I don't want to be part of this.
Bye.
I don't want to be berated like that.
Bye. Have a nice day. Go back and do your own show. Go do natural experiments with friggin' electronics, okay? I'm sure they'll be lining up for that. PMARS, did your slobber nurses call yet?
Ignoring you.
I feel
this is preposterous, man.
I feel kind of guilty now because I'm the one who brought up the subject. I just wanted it to be I don't know, like, because I had heard it and I was like, I just wanted it to be kind of touched on or just to explain a little further. Because I think a lot of people are really
Let's bring up the
misunderstanding
color
it.
yellow. Let's argue about yellow. Why is yellow yellow?
I
I mean,
I
this
think part
has
of the
been
problem is the way
explained
they
to
don't
him
know.
Is that
ad
We don't
rhetorical?
agree on the terms.
Is that rhetorical?
Eh.
I'm pretty sure it's got something to do with Earth curve, hasn't it?
We could talk about yellow spines.
I think ultimately,
but I think, like, I just brought it up because a lot of people are saying that, and it's like, and the fact that people are saying that and people are confusing the terms, like, it's just, it's not really good. It's not productive. Like, the fact that, like, so many people have a disagreement with this, with what is natural and what is not. Like, it's so.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. Now, we are joined by Quantum Eraser, The Plain Truth, Ranty Flat Earth, Jessica, Pete, Paul, Chocolate, Arwin, 10th Man, and I think that's pretty much it. Good to have you all.
Hello, what ho?
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good to have you all. Any signs of curvature?
Nope.
Nah.
Earth curvature, right? Because like
Yeah,
I've seen curvature, that's not Earth curvature.
you're going to be one of those, I can tell.
Do you
Hey Gus,
like
how you doing,
curvature?
Gus? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Gus?
Yes, I can. I switched over to Chrome. I think Safari had trouble.
Cool. Hopefully you can take part in housekeeping. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, Jessica?
Yes. I mean, no, I haven't seen any.
You're an asset.
Nope.
Yes, but no, but. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
I was waiting for that. I love that.
Nah.
Any
Travis,
evidence?
I actually did miss that, bro.
Yeah, Travis, where you been?
I've been working late hours and I just been sleeping in, and then I get lazy and yada yada yada.
Fair enough. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Absolutely not.
Just look in the atmosphere, Nathan.
Walk outside. Mm.
Look at the sky. That proves unicorn farts, right? No. No violations of that second law of thermodynamics. We've become
Maybe
so.
it's a
Wait,
unicorn.
P.
fart
Mars,
that
did you
prevents
just say
that.
Jupiter? P. Mars, did you just say Jupiter?
Hey Nathan, maybe it's the unicorn farts that are preventing the atmosphere. from-
Wait, Arwen. I'm trying to hear P. Mars. Did
Yeah,
you
he
just
said
say
it.
Jupiter?
He said it.
That's your proof that gas can exist without a container? Tell us all about it, P.
Oh, like Jupiter. Yeah, you can see Jupiter, right, with the telescope, and it's got clouds on it, and there's no observable container around Jupiter. And we know, think you need gas pressure for clouds to exist.
How do you know they're clouds?
How do you know it's not inside the container?
I know that they're not clouds. Do you know how I know that, P?
How do you know that?
Because there's this thing called the second law of thermodynamics. It's basically entropy. So if that is a cloud, a high pressure gas, then it's going to want to expand in all directions. Now, if the claim is that that gas is next to a vacuum, then it's not possible. It wouldn't be there. Because if that was the case, the gas would disperse into the vacuum. But it's not, so it definitely isn't gases or clouds or any such assertion, because it would violate a law of nature. So I know for absolute certain that it's not a gas, P, based on that natural law.
What if hypothetically there was some sort of force that was counteracting?
Then you'd have to prove it.
Hold on.
You guys can't even prove a force here, let alone on Jupiter.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm in agree with him there. Yeah, I agree, P. The force is called unicorn farts. You want to know the proof of them? Look through your telescope at Jupiter, my friend. There's the proof.
The second law would read out differently if there was this force you're talking about.
No, what about the unicorn farts? You haven't taken them into consideration now, have you, 10th man? That's why it's a gas.
Yeah,
because of unicorn
I have a
farts.
bias. I have a bias against unicorns.
You deny unicorns. Wow.
Yeah, I don't see them in reality.
Right, I don't need to show you unicorns. We all know unicorns are real.
I deny cow.
Well, hold on. Maybe
I
Nathan.
feel like
has a
that's a
point.
categorical logical fallacy because unicorns are not meant to be
But
taken
hold
as
on.
real. So
But
Oh,
hold
really?
on.
Oh, that's hold on. That's where I was leading him. Oh,
If I
God.
may.
That was where I was
If I
leading
may.
him. What's that you say, P? That's a fallacy because we can't show unicorns. That's fantastic. Can you show me gravity, please, P?
yeah. I've shown it on the panel. I've shown you the Cavendish, right?
No, that's
Oh, God.
balls in a shed. That's not gravity.
Well, gravity
No.
is the force that the balls attracting to each other.
Oh, that doesn't happen ever. We never experience any mass attracting other mass. That doesn't happen ever. That's a nonsense.
See, this is the only reason you guys want to fight so hard for
Hold on.
experiments of you.
Oh, hold on. No, PP. Like unicorns, you saying you can't show me gravity? Because that man-made thing that you're describing, we had this conversation. That's a man-made thing, isn't it? That's not a natural phenomena of unicorns. I mean gravity.
Wait, the Cavendish is man-made?
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to know who made it? A reverend. His name's John Mitchell. Reverend John Mitchell. He made it. A man. A priest. Your priest. So, this is your priest, Reverend John Mitchell, and his man-made balls. You like the balls of this priest, do you, P?
I like the balls of the priest, yes.
Yes, you like the balls of this priest. Yes, that's correct. You like Reverend John Mitchell and his balls.
I got molested by a Catholic priest.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about molestation. We're talking about Reverend John Mitchell's Cavendish / Reverend John Mitchell's balls and how much you like them because you think they prove gravity when it's just a man-made device. You're not showing me gravity. You're showing me Reverend John Mitchell's balls.
I was indoctrinated to like balls when I was an altar boy for the Catholic
That's lovely.
Church.
Show me gravity because so far it's the same as unicorns, P. Do I show you a stuffed toy unicorn to prove unicorns? Because you're showing me something that a man made also, aren't you? These balls. Reverend John Mitchell's balls. That's what you're showing me. So if I go and get Tommy Nobody's unicorn that he's made to prove unicorns, is that a satisfactory facsimile of a unicorn?
What? I think unicorns would be in a different, because unicorns aren't meant to be taken as real. They're a fan. Everyone accepts them as like a fantasy, but gravity is something that people think is real.
Appeal to consensus, eh? Oh, well, that's not going to work here. All right, let's see. Let's go down the line. 10th man, do you believe in gravity?
No, I don't.
Arwin, do you believe in gravity? Staying silent. Is he abstaining? We don't know. This could be a tense moment. We'll come back to you, Arwin. Chocolate saying, do you believe in gravity? We're looking for consensus here.
You mean the magical force of the floor? Absolutely not.
What about you, Paul? Do you believe in gravity?
Depends on how you define it. If you go back to the original definition as weight or heaviness, then I can believe in gravity in that sense, but not this force thing that everybody talks about.
Oh, that's a shame. That's what we're talking about. Torsion bar twist in this instance. Gus, wild card. Might be on your side here, P. What do you reckon, Gus? Gravity, yay or nay?
I've been struggling with gravity. So far, I don't see any proof for it.
Oh, bummer. Maybe your last chance there, P. What about you, Jessica? You on consensus side, like P suggests?
I agree with what Paul said in terms of the definition, and I actually think that was done on purpose. The fact that it's called gravity and it literally means weight. But anyway, the mass striking mass, no, I do not believe in that.
What about you, Ranty?
No, don't believe in it.
So, unbelievably, unless Arwin challenges us at the end, we've only got one last hope for you, P. Travis, you going to save his ass?
Do I believe in what?
I'll take that as a no. So consensus is definitely not on your side here, P. So even though you've appealed, you've been fallacious, but it doesn't even stack up with the people here right now, right? So it's just you who believes in unicorns then.
Yeah, I wasn't really arguing consensus. I was just saying like it's a different category, unicorns and gravity, because gravity is real and unicorns is fantasy. It's not fair. It's not a good
I like to push back on
like
that.
apples and oranges.
Actually, how do you?
Kind of a bit quiet. Hold on a second. Just 1 second.
How do you know?
Just 1 second, Paul. Are you suddenly further away from your mic or something, P?
Yeah, it's talking quiet. Yeah, I don't know.
Someone's got some background noise.
All right, I've turned him up a little bit. Go ahead, Paul. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're saying assuming that the unicorns are fictional characters, correct? That's what you said, P? P.
I said unicorns are meant to be fantasy. It's a different category. It's things that are real.
Could they be an extinct species of animal that existed a long time ago? And this idea of mythical creature or whatever, you know, could be based in fact. So they could have existed at some point and be real. Is that possible? I know this is a fallacious argument, but I'm asking the question. Okay, so you can't really say they aren't real or fantasy because they could have existed at some point in the past.
Well,
right.
I could say it's fantasy because I would say most people would accept that unicorns are meant to be fantasy, like Santa Claus or Easter Bunny, and it's not the same. It's things that are real that we experience in the real world. So I think it's like a different category.
Well, Santa Claus is based on a real person
Categorical
that
logical
existed.
fallacy.
So no, you know Santa Claus is based on a real person, right?
Yeah, but no one thinks Santa Claus is like really flying around the world giving children presents.
Oh, that's not my point. Now, there may be this idea of mythical or magical powers attributed to Santa Claus, but he is based on a real person.
You got half a concession, Paul. You almost said it, Pete. For the sake of his argument, I think, you know, can you not just concede that there's a possibility unicorns could have existed?
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
P believes in unicorns. What an idiot.
So, Pete, what I'm catching you saying is the illogical cannot exist in reality.
No, I'm saying it's a categorical logical fallacy to compare something that's fantasy to something in reality.
So what you're saying is it's illogical and it cannot exist in reality, correct?
It can exist in.
Because it's illogical and it doesn't exist in reality, therefore it's not real, correct?
No, I'm just saying that it's like okay, there's such a thing as fiction and nonfiction, right? Like you don't think Jurassic Park is real because it's a book someone wrote, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about this subject in reality. So let me say it this way. There can't be in reality a non-unicorn unicorn. You can't hold both sides, right? Because it's not in reality, they don't exist. If they were in reality, they would exist. Which one is it?
They don't exist.
So it's not reality.
Right.
Okay, so now let's go to gravity. Show us.
Gravity is
Show us.
backed
No,
up
don't
by
tell us.
experiments.
No, not experiments. Show us. Independent, dependent, control. Show us.
Yeah, I've shown the Cavendish experiment.
Oh, so planes do go to their destination, what? Quicker?
Somebody say experiment?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
You
talking about
said
Cavendish
experiment. Okay. Nathan? You know the drill.
John is like the the policeman of science.
All right, P. Since they're entertaining you, I don't know why. I don't know why I'm doing. I guess everyone's bored. Natural phenomena observed, please.
Mass attracts mass.
All right. So you know that this observed phenomena is your dependent variable, correct? You understand that? All right. What's the
The
alternative
dependent
hypothesis?
variable is the force of gravity.
So the force. So the force of gravity. Put this together. All right. The force of gravity causes mass attracting mass. Is that your final answer? Hello.
Oh, I'm saying mass creates a force that we call gravity, causing
No,
mass to
I
be
already got it.
attracted to
Mass
mass.
attracts mass. All right. That's your observed. Can you show us a picture of this?
A picture? No.
Oh, so you didn't observe it. Can you even define mass? Let's
Well,
start here.
Yeah, we can
Define
observe
mass.
a force like with a scale. You can measure
Define
it.
mass.
Wouldn't A have to be mass?
Define mass.
Yeah, you need to define mass.
An object's ability to resist force.
That's inertia.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah. So yesterday, just for the audience's benefit, same question came up, and the answer given was the amount of stuff inside something versus its volume. Now, that was a different definition that P's just given. So
No, mass is a measure of an object's ability to resist motion.
It's inertia. We just literally just said that 2 seconds ago. So my point was slightly different though, Pete. We got a different definition yesterday. The amount of matter contained, which would be a mole. So why would we be in a position where this...
Well, there's different definitions. That was the definition from chemistry. The definition in physics is an object's ability to...
Chemistry
resist
falls
motion
under
or
physics.
movement.
They're a brain surgeon.
No, chemistry and physics are not the same.
Chemistry falls under physics. All the real
Falls
sciences
under-
fall under physics.
The quantity of matter in an object.
So I'm still at a loss, P. So phenomena...
There's different definitions of words between
Yeah, well, that's an
fields.
equivocation fallacy then.
So where do we
You're
see
a
this natural phenomena, P? Where do we
What
see?
fallacy?
Where do
I
we
think
see
that's
the
fallacy.
natural phenomena? Mass attracts mass. Where can we see? That was my original question. Where do we see? Show us gravity?
Like all the time. Like when you feel, when you go weigh yourself, you feel the weight of anything
Oh
that you
my
pick up
God.
that's heavy.
Hold on. When you say again, P. When you weigh yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's medium specific, though, isn't it?
Medium specific.
Yes,
weight
medium
has
specific.
Weight.
Yeah.
The force of gravity that you feel.
No, it's medium specific.
What is medium? What do you? I don't understand.
Okay, so when you hear the example of someone saying a leaf falling from a tree, well, because it's in the medium of air, it goes in a particular direction versus its starting point. Well, if it's at the bottom of an ocean or a pool or a lake or whatever, and the same thing happens, a leaf detaches from that plant, there's a good chance it'll go up based on the medium. Same thing if you weigh yourself, in your example, weigh yourself. Well, yeah, in the medium of air, I'll weigh what is a given conceptual idea based on a number on a scale with a spring attached to it, and I can attribute a number to what you call weigh in air. But if I go to the bottom of a pool, it's trying to force me to the top of it. Medium specific, P.
Yeah, that's a buoyant force created by gravity.
Sorry, you keep saying these things that could be attributed as a cause, and then saying because of gravity. So when I say show me gravity, what you're going to show me is a buoyant force. So buoyancy, where do you naturally see that happening?
See, like, you see something floating on the water.
So where are you getting gravity from then? So we've got two things in opposition then. Me on a scale and something floating to the top. So we've got a complete contrasting set of circumstances to prove this force. This isn't observing gravity, that's my point, P. So we're back to the same question. Where do I see this thing? Like unicorns that you believe in and cannot show us. Gravity, P, where do I see it?
It's not like visible, but you can measure it, feel it.
Right, like I can measure unicorn farts by looking at the amount of blue in the sky. That sort of measuring.
Yeah, that would be a categorical logical fallacy.
Yeah, you seem to have learnt one fallacy and are now attributing it to everything.
Can he post that fallacy, please?
Well, look, you keep making the same argument, and it's a logical fallacy.
Can he post that
I'm just
fallacy,
trying
please?
to
I think
point
you
it
just
out
need
to you
to-
because you like to point out everyone
enough.
else's logical fallacy,
Mars,
but you don't
keep
seem to
talking
care
about
about
a force.
making your own.
You keep talking about a force you have no proof
Hold
for.
on.
That's the
Hold
problem.
on. Let's let P have his moment. Okay, P. Formalise it with what we've said so we understand the fallacy. I don't understand what you mean, P. Maybe you could explain this fallacy to us.
No, I can't.
So you're charging me with something you don't understand? Seriously?
Yep. Yep. Same show.
I can't define everything. Like, I'm not a dictionary.
Okay. So far we've got something that we can't see when we're talking about gravity. It's looking ever more like unicorns, P.
Yeah, that's not a good argument. All right.
What? So just acceptance of your fantasy fundy belief in this thing you can't show us?
You can show you the experiments, like
No, that
you
comes
can change
later.
it.
No, Pete, you don't understand how this works. First step in the scientific method is to observe a phenomena. The experiment comes when you want to establish the cause of the phenomena. So we're not at the experimental stage yet. First,
That's
we've got
not actually correct.
We're failing.
That's retarded.
Sorry,
You're a
Pete.
retard. That's some nigger science.
All right, kick him out.
No need, P.
I mean, do you think you are the
Kick
scientific establishment or authority or something? You're telling me what science is?
That
Yeah.
You know what the
racist
fuck?
retard
You got
outta
some
here.
African nigger.
No, jeez. Once maybe you get away with it, but losing and just making me kick you out is just so unreasonable on me, P. Come on, be fair. Unreal.
He's
Corny.
doing that on purpose.
Yeah, he wanted
So,
to
do
be
we want to
kicked.
summarize this
Yeah.
before we go off screen? Even though he's a clown, most of the clowns do the same thing. So let's summarize. He can't define mass. He hasn't observed mass attracting mass, and he can't define mass. The alternative hypothesis is a begging the question fallacy, because this is what you're trying to prove, the force of gravity. It can't be in your premise. So, and his null hypothesis is babbling retard. So, that'll be about it.
Yeah. Show us gravity. If you can't show us a phenomena, it's unicorns. Hey, Physics Warrior. Can you hear us? Hello?
Noise psychics.
I think we've got a slight issue with Physics Warrior's mic. He comes off mute. We hear a bit of background noise and then we don't hear a hello.
Well, that, like usual, they got no facts, no proofs, then they ad hom and get crude.
I'd like to go back on the topic before the show started, if it's possible, because I want to ask
Can
a
I
question.
can I
John's
jump
on
in
here.
just real quick, Paul? Can I just jump in real quick and then I'll let you do that?
Go ahead.
I guess. Go ahead.
Sorry. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I just keep forgetting about it. But I want to give a big shout out to Shelley Lewis, who is heading up a flat Earth documentary in response to Behind the Curve and Logan Paul. And right now, she and her team are in Denver to film the FE Corps performing their Force the Line. And so, just want you guys to keep your antennas up and ears to the ground to follow up with what they're doing. And let's see what. There you have a GoFundMe if you want to support their endeavor. And the actual Facebook group, if you want to look it up, is called the Flat Earth. I'm sorry, the Plain Truth documentary.
Is that an experiment?
He deliberately cut that word off the end, I believe.
I said it's the Plain Truth documentary on Facebook. If you want to follow up there and contribute in any way.
And I asked, is that an experiment?
Is what an experiment, Johnny?
Force the line.
I made no claims. All I said was that FE Corps is in Denver and they're performing Force the Line.
No further questions.
Excellent stuff. Can you just remind us the actual plug, but before Paul picks up the mic, just plug them again so that people can get to their Facebook page and such. Please, Travis.
Yeah, again, Shelley Lewis on Facebook or the Plain Truth documentary on Facebook. And again, they have a GoFundMe if you want to support their endeavor.
Cool. Shout out to them.
Trav, I meant to ask you, is that a coincidence, the name of the documentary? Are you involved? Or?
It's yeah. I'm on the creative team, but
Awesome.
it was complete happenstance. They did a poll for what they wanted the title to be. I threw in the Plain Truth, and everybody voted on it, so it was consensus for the voting of the name.
Oh, that's cool. It's a good name, though. Right, Paul, I'm not going to let anybody else trample all over you. Go ahead.
Okay. Just to kind of go back to kind of recap, I don't think we finished it, but to make a point, and let me just ask this question first of all before we get back into it. Are words conventions? Words. Especially John.
What?
If John can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your question?
Are words conventions?
Man made them, yes.
Okay. So when we have a conversation, the best thing we can do is try to come up, even though we might be using a specific word, we got to agree on the meaning of that word. So however someone defines the word, we can use that word as long as we agree on the definition, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So back to what we were saying before. I mean, I understand the point of science, but I've said this before. If you purely define the word science itself, the word means knowledge. That's what it means. If you say the scientific method, that to me is different. Those meanings are different.
You're jumping a
Do the
step.
scientific
Science. You're jumping a step.
do,
Science means knowledge. So then you go to what type of science you're talking about. Natural science is the next definition.
right. So you got to define what natural means, which means nothing that's man-made. So
Exactly.
we can all start. That's only my point. Like what I was trying to say, Nathan actually summed it up. What I was trying to say. I think there's a cause and effect relationship within technology, but that's not natural in the sense it's all man-made. But there's still a cause and effect relationship. Then you have a cause and effect relationship in the natural world, and I think part of what I see happening from just observation and like just watching what's going on, they started conflating those two, and I agree that they're separate, but because they see a cause and effect relationship in both the natural world and technology, they're trying to muddy. That's what they're saying. They're muddying the waters. So I think initially when everybody
there's a very specific reason why we're talking about natural science, though, right? Which, when I say it, it'll seem obvious, but we're talking about the world, so it definitely falls into the category of natural science, regardless of the assertion being made. Why does that boat go over the horizon? Oh, so we're definitely talking about the world that we live in, the physical and natural world, how it behaves, what it does. Well, you're going to be applying a particular method in that regard when you're dealing with the natural world and you're trying to establish the cause and effect. It narrows it right down to that particular method, doesn't it?
I would like to cite the definition for studied applied science. It states that applied science is a discipline that uses to apply existing scientific knowledge to develop more practical applications, for example, technology or inventions.
That's fine. So applied science. So let's break the definition down. Applied knowledge. We're not talking about how the knowledge was acquired before you got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the steps, it's the method that you use to arrive at that knowledge. That's what natural science is all about.
Exactly. So when Arwen was detailing the technology, and it's like, well, that's man-made, but ultimately speaking, some of the technology that's inside it has been derived from that method. So it's applied science. But it's not you don't have those technologies in the first instance unless you've gone through the method. So it still goes back to the origins. The origins being the method itself that gave you the cause, that gave you that scientific knowledge.
I think the only reason, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think the only reason they're fighting so hard for this is that so that we can look at experiments like Cavendish and things like gyros and say, look, those things are doing what we say they're doing. Those are giving us credibility. You know, two balls in a torsion bar, that proves gravity because that's what it is. It's natural. It's like, no, guys.
You want to be able to observe.
The same dissension into farce can be applied. So I create with really, really natural looking, in fact, real horse fur. I model a unicorn, and then I strap onto that unicorn some clever looking wires and some gadgets, and I measure some oscilloscopes. I've got some stuff that's got some stuff going on. And then I go, right, here's my experiment. Yeah. What's the cause of this unicorn? Well, it's not that I've made it. I can just make up a cause. Well, magical three-toed gnomes. That's what the cause is. Well, does someone ever turn around and go, that's not an experiment? What's your natural phenomena? I don't need one. Natural, man-made stuff's natural. There's my natural man-made unicorn. I'm trying to figure out the cause of it. It just descends into farce. But when they say it with an air of authority, it sounds so much more convincing. Well, we're trying to find the non-existent, can't be visible, can't be seen, can't be utilised, detected in any way, experienced in any way. Gravity. Well, why? Well, because this leaf drops. But what about when it goes up? Oh, no, that's because of gravity as well. Oh, so we've just got gravity now, have we? Why is this being foisted upon me like unicorn farts?
Yeah, like a ball floating at the top of a pool seems to prove that some force is pulling it down. That's just nonsense.
Well, follow
Mars,
it
if you're
through.
listening.
Follow his example through. I mean, if you want to make natural or man-made phenomena natural phenomena, what's the goal of the scientific method?
To
Anyone?
elucidate the cause of the effect.
To prove the cause. Yeah, exactly.
No, to come to a scientific theory. That's the goal. So, how many toaster oven theories do we have?
I
Right?
used this exact example earlier.
Where's lawnmower theories? I mean, are they in the literature? Am I stuck behind bowling ball theories? Lawnmower theories? Does that ever happen?
Nope.
You see how farcical this is? Just follow it all the way through. If they don't understand that the dependent variable, the effect, has to be natural, you're looking at a cause and effect relationship always in the scientific method. So you have the dependent variable, which is the effect, and the cause is the independent variable always. So put any man-made object in your dependent variable. What's the cause of it?
Man.
Yeah, man made it.
Rest.
Something interesting, Nathan, I was looking up is gravitas is the Latin word meaning weight or heaviness, but it also meant back in the day dignity, seriousness, or solemnity of manner, basically like serious. So it all goes back to that hijacking of words again. They hijacked weight and serious and made it a force that attracts everyone to a spinning ball.
Yeah, gravitas.
Exactly what I said. Like, I honestly think it was like a joke. The reason why they did that. No way. It's very clever.
Hey guys, I have a question about relative density. Does a ball floating on a pool demonstrate relative density and explain direction? Because that's what the gravity, proponents would always say is, what's pulling things down because they infer the direction down.
Down's not an objective direction.
Yeah, that's dropity. That's not gravity. Gravity says mass attracts mass.
Right. So does the ball floating in the pool, does that explain, because that kind of explains relative density all around, I think, or does it not? Is there something missing?
Well, it's
because
just a few more
now
details.
it's not moving, right? It's not
Well,
going
change that ball to an anvil. What is it going to do?
Hold on. The ball isn't moving though, right? The ball's just doing nothing. It just happily sat there. It's not going
right
up
now.
or down.
It's reached its equilibrium because of its density, its relative density. So it's not moving anymore. So it takes direction and out of it, because if it went down, it would just mean that the water was further down, because that's where the relative density would change when it moves the water.
You're kind of mixing up disequilibrium and equilibrium. So you're saying, well, is that a good, example of gravity or relative density? But well, no, it's a good example of equilibrium, but you don't have to look very far to find it. Typically, things are in equilibrium, and if they're not, they're seeking it. So what have we got on screen? The river's seeking equilibrium. Yeah, that's all it's doing. Everything else is pretty much staying where it is. There isn't things falling. There isn't things floating up to the surface. They occasionally do. Something might detach itself from the bottom of the riverbed. That might well happen every so often. Occasionally a leaf will fall from a tree. But typically, things are in equilibrium. That's the natural order of things. Things want to be in equilibrium and seek to find it. So we get Muppets that force things out of equilibrium and go, why is there a force there? Well, what force? Nothing was happening until you came along.
Right. So if the ball were 10 feet above the pool, then, and however it was being held there disappeared, it would move towards the pool, because that's where the relative, that's where it's in equilibrium. So it has that's where the equilibrium is in physical space. That's the line between something denser below it and something less dense above it.
Well, that removes the first step, though. So you did it quite casually by saying, well, the ball's in midair, and then however it got there. But that's
Right.
the other side of the equation, though, isn't it? So you see this ball, and it's just doing nothing, sat there happily doing nothing. You come along, and then you insert energy to force it out of equilibrium up into the air. Well, there's a whole load of work and process that's gone on in that to get it up in the air. And then the question's asked, why does it go down? It's like you just ignored the very process that put it into disequilibrium in the first instance, and then start asking your question.
Newton's
Yeah,
third.
that's why I brought it up, because I think in this moment I just understood this, and I realized that we're lifting it up and there's energy, and then you let go and it goes down, and that is really that explains up, down, and direction completely. So there's no need for gravity, and just the ball floating on the pool.
Every action has equal and opposite reaction. So when you move that object up, you actually displaced air and move the air down. So it's going to both those are going to seek their equilibrium.
Right. Because I have a friend who's a meteorologist, and I'm trying to Iron Man his definition of, the atmosphere, the vacuum next to a gas pressure, and he says it's a gradient. Just follow it up to its logical conclusion. It goes to zero. And I know that's a ridiculous argument. So, but and I'm with you guys, but I want to try and strongman that idea, because I'd like to come back on here and see if I can argue it, against you guys. I don't think I'm going to succeed, but I think the whole idea of the atmosphere and the gas pressure gradient at the bottom of that argument is gravity. That's where you have to go.
Well said. At the bottom of that argument is gravity. Yeah, well put. What about the top of that argument? So they say there's a pressure gradient.
Guys, let me help you. I can help this guy with his question.
Hey, Anthony.
If we give the air the density value of 1, if you look up the density value of water, it comes back at 997 kilograms per meter cubed. Forget the kilograms per meter cubed, but the water is 997. The air would be 1, but the ball that's sat on top of the water is too heavy for the air, but it's not heavy enough to displace the water. So because it's not heavy enough to displace the water, but it's significantly heavier than the air, it has to sit between the two layers because there's two resistances either side. If the value of the ball was a value less than 1, it'd rise. If the value was greater than 1, just by a little tiny bit, it would sit very little. It would just be skimming the top of the water like the surface, like pond skaters do. But if the value of the ball was greater than 997, so say 1200, then it would completely displace the water until it got to a density that it could find its equilibrium if it was able to, or it lands on a rock and it still stands in its state of disequilibrium, but it's resisted by the rock it's now sat on. And we know that's true because when you look at Felix, when he jumped out of his plane, he started off at 600 miles an hour, but by the time he got towards the lower atmosphere where he pulls his parachute, he dropped right the way down to 120 miles an hour. That's because as he's falling through the denser atmosphere, as Fight the Flat Earth correctly stated, he would slow down if it was down to relative density, and that is what he did. But if you were to extract that further and imagine that instead of being the ground underneath him that's a fall arrest, imagine that was a continuous tube that went right the way through the Earth, but the density was getting more and more dense all the way through. It's 120 miles an hour. As the air got more and more dense, thicker, he would gradually start slowing down more and more and more. Carry that on to its natural conclusion, he'd end up being the egg that's submerged in the water because he's found his equilibrium. But because there's the ground there, he's got a fall arrest that stops him from finding his equilibrium. But it's also that fall arrest that gives him his weight, what we call weight. So if you don't have that equilibrium, the fall arrest, and the thing's freely able to find its equilibrium, it will find its equilibrium like the egg does when it's sat in neutral buoyancy. But because it's not able to, because there's a jump between air to water, and there's a big gap between the two of them in terms of density. That's why things perceive to go down. But what they're actually doing is displacing the air because its own weight's heavier than the air, but it's not heavy enough to displace the water underneath it because its value of density is less than the water. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
it does. And what if you went the opposite direction? So the density increases as you go down. Now, as it goes up, it would decrease. And I guess, the argument is what happens at the end of going up. We don't know because we can't get there, but there has to either be a container or is in with the relative density model, could that theoretically, I don't know, that's not a word you guys
Well,
like,
yeah,
but could that go to
this
zero? And if
this
not,
is what
what would it end at?
your weight goes relatively up relative to the medium that you're in. So if your medium's getting thinner and therefore less weight, you're gonna be relative to the medium getting thinner. You're going to appear as though you're getting heavier. And that's what they claim is. Have you ever heard of this thing called time dilation, where they get a weight and they measure it on the top of the top of the mountain, and then they measure it at sea level, and they claim that that's demonstrating gravity by time dilation, and that's what they call.
Yeah.
What do they call it now? I can't remember what they call it, but they give an example where a weight is heavier when it goes up the mountain than it is at the bottom, and they claim that's because it's gravity or whatever. But the reality is, what's happening is it's the medium around the weight that's getting less dense. So you're seeing a greater disequilibrium at the top than what you were seeing at the bottom, because it's closer to its level of equilibrium, and that's why there's a disparity between the two weights. You're measuring the disequilibrium between the two positions.
Mick West has tried to use that argument in the official Flat Earth and Globe discussion for gravity, guys.
I can't remember what they call it.
Sorry to
It's not the
interrupt.
Etboss effect. That's where you go up and down latitudes, but there's a name for it, and I can't remember what it's called now. But I thought it was time dilation, but I might not be getting that right. I might have got two different points mixed up. But my point is, they do use this weights up mountains point to say how, if it's not gravity that's causing it, what is it? Well, the answer is it's the medium's changing around you. It's getting thinner, but your density is the same. So what's actually happening is you're getting relatively more dense than the medium that you're in. It's the same reason why you can't put weights in a swimming pool and put your total weight on it at the bottom of the deep end. So I'm 16, 17 stone. If I put the scales in at the bottom of the deep end, I can't get them scales to register 16 or 17 stone, because the medium I'm in now is virtually the same as me. And the minute I touch it, I fly off it.
Yeah, and technically, if the gravity's getting weaker and weaker, the more we go up, guys, then how's that really, really weak gravity just keeping air stuck?
Gravity? You mean invisible three-toed gnomes?
Yeah, well, according to their formula, John, no, you hate gravity, but it's a
I don't
gradient.
hate it. I don't hate it. I don't hate things that don't exist.
Well, every time anyone talks about it, you repeat three-toed gnomes like a broken record. So I got it.
Yeah, that's right.
He's right, though. He's right.
Not real, John.
You can't infer that gravity's in it unless you can demonstrate it with experiments. John talks about this all the time, and he's right. That's the reason why Blue Marble Science's latest video against me, he's accusing me of pseudoscience, because I'm not letting him infer that he can have gravity by inference. You can't do it.
Right.
In science,
sorry to interrupt you all. So big shout out to Rebel Rob TV for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Also, there's a chap called Merle trying to join rather. I don't know if he's a globehead, but if somebody on the panel is willing to drop, then maybe we'll get a globehead on the panel.
Merle's not a globe head, but he's a bit. Well, you figure it out.
I don't hate things that don't exist, by the way.
You're very agitated by it.
Is it Merle? How you doing, Merle?
Are we going to talk about my favorite color next?
Good day, Merle.
Love is not.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
good to have you.
I am a rational human being. Welcome. So let's do this. Let's talk about the heliocentric model for a second, shall we?
Sure thing.
Hold on a second. We're not
Sure.
done with this gravity thing just yet.
Shall we find some flaws in it, or are we going to
We're
accept
not done
it?
with the gravity thing just yet before you come in barging in, changing the subject. Just hold on for a second. Who was that gentleman talking about that I hated gravity?
That's Nathan Thompson, me.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, I don't hate things that don't exist.
Oh, okay. Well, I just think it's interesting anytime anyone brings it up to immediately talk about three-toed gnomes. And I agree, it's fake. You're talking to a flat earther. I know it's fake. You don't have to interrupt everyone on the panel every time they
I
talk
didn't
about
interrupt anyone on the panel. What the hell are you talking about?
every time. It's all right, John. It's all good. I don't like gravity either. We're on the same page.
It's not that I don't like it. And I didn't interrupt anyone. What the hell are you talking about, sir?
All right, well, let's chat with the globe earther. We'll chat about it later.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's talk about more things that don't exist. I do it for a point, right? Because everyone talks about gravity. Well, what is it? No one can define it. No one can show me. It doesn't exist. Just like invisible three-toed gnomes. No one can define it. No one can show me. Do you see the connection?
Let's talk about heliocentrism, and it's a reality designed for lazy adult children. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about a model that no one came up with on their own, but they claim, and then they say words like we and us. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the establishment and the mainstream. Let's talk about that. Anyone got anything?
I thought that was kind of
You
all.
got anything?
You got anything?
I wasn't.
I mean, this is flat Earth. This is the discussion. You guys have been out here years. You getting anywhere?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm totally at peace with it. I know it's flat.
No, and we are getting somewhere, definitely.
Yeah. Every glober that comes in here leaves with a toe tag. So yeah, we are getting somewhere.
Well, isn't it dangerous to say it's flat because it could just be an enormous ball, and we only experience a flat part of it?
Unfortunately, that's not true. It has to.
Yep.
It has to
As
conform.
long as but it might be. But as long as we don't know, I'll bet it's more likely to be flat. But we'll figure it out eventually. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely at the point where it's not
they can't.
25,000 mile wide.
There's no take-backs on their story.
No.
So it can't be bigger.
All
No,
I'm
no,
saying
you
is
can't
it
have
is flat enough. It might not be perfectly geometrical flat because of its actual size, but we don't know this.
But I think we can safely say it's not a 25,000 mile sphere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why can't we just say it's flat when we? I mean, don't get me wrong.
Because there's still the remote possibility that it might not be perfectly flat.
Some people want to walk on walls.
I would like, I would say so. I would assert something that, like, along with, like, if we're gonna say that it could just be a really enormous ball, the problem with even saying that is that we've been presented with the world that we live on is a perfect sphere, and they claim that we've already been outside of this perfect sphere. We have pictures of this perfect sphere, blah 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 blah. So it's like even with like, so it's like even the narrative of itself, like if all of that other stuff is true and that we live on some type of gigantic ball and everything like that, there would be countless amounts of evidence for that, and yet we don't observe any of it. So I agree with it that maybe not being perfectly flat, but they're like I kind of but to say that it might just be a really big ball or some other type of that's pretty overarching.
That's a fantastic point, though. So, say if we found out that it was like an oblong, right?
Yeah, then
it's not a sphere. It's not a sphere, is it?
Is this going to be a Dick Earth joke? If this is building up to a
No.
Dick Earth joke, get out now.
No, I promise. I'm just really the point is that they showed us this image. You know, that goes back to Universal Studios and all this kind of stuff. So this image gets shown to us, even if it turns out not to be that. I mean, that's the point, isn't it? That we've all been lied to. We've been presented a model that we didn't question for years, and then flat Earth's come along, and the skeptics step forward, and it's the quest for truth, and that's why we're all here, isn't it?
Yeah, that function's on. Turn the background mic off.
I think I figured it. I've muted enough people to get rid of it. Sorry,
I mean, Nathan,
repeat
like
your
when
last-
I came into this like nearly 4 years ago, you were out here, Nathan.
Still am.
You know?
What do you mean?
Exactly. And I respect that about you. That's a hard line. And you've seen it all.
I think another point that I just thought of is we could say that our world is flat because it's all we know, all we're referring to is the continents and Antarctica as it's presented. And even if the world were a giant sphere, there would have to be more stuff beyond that. And we're not really talking about that. So to say the world is flat, we're referring to the current world that we're aware of.
And if it's bigger, doesn't it have to move faster than 1,030 miles an hour at the equator, which nobody can detect?
It's never going to be a spinning Earth, whatever the shape is.
The sun and moon would still be moving around a large Earth. You know, I guess there's probably problems with that, but that doesn't automatically mean the rest of it.
Just out of interest, what do you mean about how Antarctica is presented to us? It's presented in a multitude of ways. Whatever would you mean by that?
Well, they present it as the bottom of the globe and a certain amount of land. And then if you look at a flat Earth model like the AE map, it's still the same amount of land, but it's around the edge. But that's what we're talking about. So if we say the world, then it's that much. But now let's just say that it were larger and there was stuff beyond Antarctica on a flat plane, or that Antarctica was a ring around our continents, and then the globe went beyond that ring to other rings of land. So to say, I'm just kind of saying that we can say our world is flat because we're only referring to the one ring that's surrounded by Antarctica.
So we've definitely got a ring now then.
Well, no, okay, fair enough.
An ice wall.
All this is
just before that gets rounded out. My point is that you've put yourself in a false dichotomy. So in your mind, you've got Antarctica at the bottom of a globe, or it surrounds us as an ice wall.
Think of it like this: there is no necessity for the Earth to be a ball for anything to work, but it might just in some weird way turn out to be just that. But personally, I find it very unlikely that the Earth would be geometrically a ball in a literal sense in any way.
Do you think because one can get to Antarctica by going south, that it has to be around all of the known continents?
There's a claim and a half. Oh, really? So you say that if you travel south, you reach Antarctica. How'd you come to that conclusion?
Well, Nathan,
hold on. How'd you come to that conclusion?
Sorry, what was the question?
I thought it works that way on both models. You head south, you hit Antarctica.
Works that way on what?
Well, the Glovers say you head south, you hit Antarctica. Flat Earthers say if you head south, you hit the perimeter.
Is that not proven that everyone heading south hits Antarctica? Is that something that
you just made? Hold on, don't get prove that. You just made that claim. Now I'm asking you what you have gathered as the information to make that assertion. And so far, it sounds like the Globers say you go south and you hit it, and the Flat Earthers say it. I certainly don't say that.
Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't know that. I'd have to test the whole globe, or at least know a body of people that have done it that I trusted, and I don't.
Hey, Down in the Rabbit Hole said if you head south, you hit Antarctica. To Owen, so I could see how he would think.
Did
that
you just say Dirth says it?
Yeah, I've heard Dirth say it.
So. Oh, in that case, I take back everything I say. If Dirth said it.
Well, I'm just saying that a flat earther has made that claim. So.
Wow, a human being.
No. I get it. This is a really interesting situation. No, I'm well aware of the claim that's made. Yeah, this is usually a globe head problem. I'm just saying. So where have we come to this conclusion then, other than flat earthers saying it?
Might there be enough observational or enough people that have done it, that have maybe sailed around Antarctica, being it take a long time or not long enough, however big it is.
Excellent.
But to say that continuous.
That's brilliant. Maybe you'd like to name one. I can name one.
Yeah, I don't. I think there's a very few and not enough actually, but
there's one very well documented. There's one very well documented one that claimed to go around the outside edge of Antarctica.
Was it Cook?
Ah, yep. Cook. Isn't that interesting? Any of us on the panel done it?
Well, that's what I was going to say to you, Nathan.
Not in the physical world.
Well, Math Powerland messaged me the other day, Nathan, and there are people who want to explore this place, but it seems like there's a lot of restrictions at the moment for whatever reason.
Yeah, okay. It's called the Antarctic Treaty.
So, okay. And
we're all fresh out of breaker.
Well, we don't have freedom of movement as human beings on this earth. What do you think about that?
What's that got to do with this assertion that we can head south and hit Antarctica?
Well, I live in Australia. There's where I was born, it's Victoria. Underneath that, you have Tasmania. Between that, you have Bass Strait. After Tasmania, on the map, all that's down below is Antarctica. That's it. That's what everybody was taught in school.
I understand the claim. I get it. But if you're saying, well, the claim's on the table, but it's really difficult to prove that claim, there's loads of restrictions. Oh, right. So do we just accept the claim because it's really difficult to prove or disprove?
Nathan's waiting for you to say, I made the claim and I don't have any real evidence.
No, I didn't make the claim. I know people who've been to Antarctica. That doesn't prove the Earth's a sphere.
No, I'm not saying that. This is regardless of the spherical. These are flat earthers on the panel making this claim. That we can head south and hit Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
No one's done it, though. And apparently it's really difficult to do, if not impossible, because of the restrictions from the people who give us the maps that tell us that it's south in all directions. Just saying.
Yeah. And we're always at the top of the ball when we're at the bottom of the ball. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
One interesting point, Nathan, I don't hear brought up on this channel a lot, is that scientists have never reached the dynamo threshold, so they can't generate basically a compass on the molten spinning Earth. So someone needs to explain how the compasses are working on a globe. Molten metal doesn't hold magnetism, period.
Right.
I think they claim it's not all molten now. It's like a hard core within a molten core. Blah, blah.
Sounds delicious. Right, Jessica?
There's a great video. Professor Dan Lanthrop from the University of Maryland drops some golden nuggets where he says, we hope to do it in the future, but we can't do it yet.
Wait, I'm sorry, I heard my name. What happened?
No, when we get the molten iron core question, you were making assertions about sweet and juicy centers of things, namely candy.
Oh.
Ooh, chocolate. Yes. Nice.
Are know their answer for why the heat isn't dissipating outward? Gravity?
I'm pretty sure they only have two assertions of anything ever. You know, gravity or Earth curve. That's it, right? It's always one of those two things.
Yeah, true.
And it's like a mantra. They just keep repeating it, and it perfectly explains everything. Just sprinkle a little bit of maths on it, and it just there you go.
And we designed a special prayer for them.
Yes.
Radius Dominus Gravitus Spiritus Sanctus Arwin. And with that, I'll say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Massive shout out to Retro Bill for hitting the super chat just as the show ends. And also, obviously, a massive thank you to all of today's debating panel for making this live debate possible. If you need to keep yourself occupied after the live stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video. Stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Locations.
What is it?
That's the only way to define them. That's what makes it locations.
We all live in a yellow submarine.
You have to
So
have a
when
reference
you
point, and
see-
our only reference point is Earth.
So when you see those pictures like you are here, where are we?
Superman took that picture.
You said Superman?
Yeah, who's taking that picture? You are here. Like, come on.
But honestly, do you guys care, or is it just me? Like, does anyone care?
I mean, I know where I am relative to where I am, and it's like, and I understand that I am on the Earth. Now, what they're telling me I live inside of a second law thermodynamics violation, and utter nonsense. So it's like, as far as them taking pictures from that place and saying you are here, and we took a picture from this place telling you here. Yeah,
Think about on the globe model.
See, I don't know where I am, and I'm the first to admit that, right? So, one of the first things I looked into. was
It works
all
out
of the maps.
low,
What's with all the
because if
background
you-
noise? Can you pop yourselves on mute if you're not talking? So,
Psychics can.
You're moving 20 million miles a day through space. You're never in the same place anyways. So globeheads have no idea where they are either.
right, Arwen was talking about traveling to New York the other day, and he was going, well, we know what to expect when we get there. It's not a belief. And I'm like, well, one of the first things I looked at with Martin was all the maps. And there's thousands of them, all different layouts, all different scales, all different sizes and shapes of the continents. It's all different in all of them. So if you say, well, you do know where you are, no, I don't. I've got no starting point, no real map to tell me exactly what it looks like and how it's all laid out. That's one of the first things you realise, right? That you don't know where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And
it
then if you go with like the Jubei narrative, Nathan, like, you know, he's making out like we're central and it all revolves around us. And then you have the like, oh moment, like it's all God's world. And see, I never bought into any of that or the Dave Murphy. I was more with you. Like IPS came on ages ago, and you've been questioning God, and I think you're right too. So I don't align with the
Really? How did
Bible
he
or any of
question
that.
God? He's a
I'm just
fundamental Christian.
skeptical about the whole thing now. I just want to know what it really is. I couldn't give a fuck, but I
What
do
about,
care.
but he's a fundamental Christian. What are you talking about?
No, I'm just saying that like there's a lot of people out here now. Maybe there's not a lot, but there's a few of us that we're genuine in this. We just want to know what it really is. What
Well, you
is
brought
the
God
earth?
into it. You said you don't believe that stuff. So nah, stuff. Put another shrimp on the Barbie. So what's your evidence for that?
No, I just want to know what the earth is. I don't care about God and all this narrative. I want to
That's
know
the
what
problem.
it is.
That's the problem.
It's not the problem. I just
Yeah.
want to know what the earth is. You
It's
don't have
wanna
to
know
go
what the
through
earth
every
is?
water and
detail.
air. That's what it is.
It
Yeah, there you go. Okay. How can you have a domed, non-spinning, flat Earth without a creator?
It says the qualities of God are through creation. So if you study creation, you're studying God. That's why they lie and hide creation.
Yep, exactly.
Could have been huge robots that built the place. You don't know. You don't know where you are. Anything could have built this thing.
But who built the robots?
Exactly.
Maybe they built themselves.
No, nothing can build itself.
No, that can't happen. No, that's
How do
not-
you know?
Well, that's no, we do know because
It's
that
natural
defies
law. Unless you
Exactly.
can demonstrate it, please.
Yeah, it's a defiance
Yeah.
of a natural law. So it's the same reason that we know we haven't got a sky vacuum, entropy. You can't reverse that process. You can't have stuff that's not complex turning into complex stuff. It just doesn't work like that. You're defying a
But that's
natural
what
law.
that's what they're worried about with AI, that it's going to become self-aware, right? And then they're going to put a computer in a robot, and it's going to become self-aware, and it's going to upgrade itself. How do you know that?
It's
already
nonsense.
happened?
No program can accidentally become self-aware unless it is being programmed to become self-aware.
Yeah, I see that as predictive programming. So what they really want is you to have your general life subsumed, if that's the right word, by electronics. In other words, every part of your day-to-day activity takes place in a digital world that can be tracked, monitored, and all those things. And that's what they really want us. They want us in that world, like we are now, literally in this moment. All of this could be tracked and used against us at a later date or whatever else. So that's where they want us to be. And you've got to kind of create this idea that it's possible for you to live in that digital world. And at the moment, the prevalent media sort of juxtaposes the robot itself having consciousness and the man going into the robot and being consciousness inside a robot. Those are the ideas that they're playing with at the moment. But really, they just want us to all be wearing Google Glass and constantly on the internet and tracking our every movement with our mobile phones. You know, I'd have thought that was obvious.
They just want to harvest the metadata to make more money.
Yeah, that too.
That's-
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line, literally.
Yeah, that too.
No, it is most of it.
You just got to watch anything that's a bit more overt about it, like 1984 or Minority Report. Movies like that lay it out for you.
Yeah, science
books.
fiction becomes fact in a way, doesn't it? They're
Well,
trying. They're
that's what I'm
pushing for
saying.
that.
It is predictive programming. You know,
Yeah.
what's been. Sometimes it's predictive programming. Sometimes it is are leading technology. So there's a bit of a mix of both, but in this instance, they're just trying to get us all to be completely, completely engaged with online activity all the time, non-stop, and everything we do be trackable.
To add to that,
There's a distinctive difference between predictive program and science fiction, because science fiction has elements to it that can never be true, but predictive programming can absolutely become true somehow. Basically,
Well,
that's
I
the
mean,
real
did you
difference.
watch Taboo Conspiracy reading Wagging the Moon Doggy?
No.
There's a German movie that came out in the late 1920s, and I'm gonna butcher the German, but it's something words to the effect of "The Woman in the Moon." That's the title. And if you watch that movie, it basically is the whole moon landing. That's the whole. That is the movie. They've just reenacted that movie. That's all it is. Now, in that instance, I don't think it's that they've made the movie to be a precursor to the moon landings. I think what they've done is they've taken inspiration from it, and it's useful and known that if that idea is already planted in the mind's eye of the people who will watch the real life, in quotes, moon landing, they've already got that idea pre-programmed into them. So it's quite useful to take ideas that are already in existence and just literally rehash them and claim that they're real when they're in fact science fiction. In this instance, like I say, you watch that movie and the whole thing, the building a rocket inside a great big hangar, wheeling it out on rails, this massive thing, shooting it up to the moon, the whole bloody thing is been done in a 1920s movie. It's astonishing. I hadn't actually realised how close it was until Taboo Conspiracy literally laid it out in him reading Wagging the Moon Doggy. But I was quite shocked. I knew there was that correlation there, and I'd seen other excerpts from it. But the bits that he showed, you're just like, Jesus, they've just literally recreated that movie and told you that it's real.
Well, I've never heard of that.
Neither had I until I watched Wagging the Moon Doggy. Check it out, Taboo Conspiracy 2. It's about a 5-part series if you've got 5 hours to dedicate to it. Well worth it.
But is the film somewhere to be seen?
Yeah,
Is
I'm
it
sure you can
still
find a copy of
available?
it. I'm sure you could find a copy on YouTube.
Yeah, I've got a link. I've found it, Nathan.
Cool. I'd
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, I'll get it to you, Armour.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Can you stick it in the? Are you on a computer? Can you stick it in the side chat now?
Yeah, I will. I'll get it. I'll get the link.
Perfect. If you're willing, Arwin, we'll have a look. We'll have a quick look at it once the link pops up. I'll present it. We'll have a little look.
Really? You want to play that?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'll play it off screen to find sections that I want, and I'll just play them in moderation. We're talking about it. It's absolutely fair use.
Right. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Boom.
Back to the self-awareness of these robots. Self-awareness is consciousness. What's consciousness?
Well, we're experiencing it.
The ability to decide for yourself.
What is it?
Consciousness is based on self-awareness.
Yeah, that's a little
Distinction
circular.
between the self and the rest of the universe.
Yeah, but what is it?
That is what it is. There's no
Does it
other
have
way really to
forms?
define it.
Does it have form, structure? Does it have charge, mass, momentum, or spin? Does it have chemical formula? What is it?
Supernatural? Is that the word you're looking for,
Yep.
John?
Yeah, it's immaterial. So how is this immaterial thing in a material robot? Who puts it in there?
Bingo.
Well, it's deduced. That's the thing.
It's deduced.
Yes, consciousness is a deduction-based construct.
No, it's not. Has nothing to do with any deductions.
Well, if you're going to approach it
yeah.
physically, yes, it is.
You can see.
I don't
Whatever.
see it that way, but if you're going to approach it from a physical nature, yes.
You can see.
I don't even think the question was directed at Erwin. I think it was directed at Merle.
You can see in the Mary Shelley Frankenstein story with the mad scientist, and the brain. I think there is something I've been aware of since I was little is that some of the people, say the megalomaniacs and the elites, they want to live forever. cryogenics and all this sort of stuff comes in there too. But this thing of not wanting to die. So I think there's a fusion between existence and consciousness and the ability to think. And it is a very hard thing to define with language, but I think it's a good thing to be questioning, because you have the faculties, and the more you explore consciousness, the last thing I'll say about it is my best friend growing up, he always said his mind was his best friend, but I've heard people say that it's like it can be your own worst enemy as well. So knowing how to work with consciousness is one thing, and it's an important thing to.
Consciousness is not continual. Serious. It's like it requires fuel. It burns you. You become more consciousness, and then you get exhausted from being that conscious because it's very confrontive, and then you detract. So you can't. There is no singularity that has some kind of permanent interconnection state. That's illogical. But there's definitely a period now, also because of the vast internet information network and social connectability, that there is more opportunity to actually ascend in consciousness for periods of time for a vast majority of individuals, which is quite unique in history as we know it.
Hey, to bring it back to the electronic chipping and stuff, guys, I was watching a video last night. Everyone here, especially you, Arwen, check it out. Fractals DNA Golden Ratio by Dan Winter. And he was saying how emotions affect our ability to build new DNA structures. And so if you're in a constant state of fear or anxiety, which is what the media and the elite want us in, he's saying that we aren't able to replicate and duplicate ourselves how we should. And basically all the genetically modified food and stuff is mutating the DNA so that in over time it will steal your soul, is what Dan Winter was trying to say. Scientifically, he was making a scientific argument that GMOs and stuff will take children's soul.
Well, technically, yes, and it can even be described with mutation. Mutation away from the blueprint. The further away you go, you become sterile, and many go mad. Some very aggressively, some very introvertly.
Yeah, and
So in that sense, you could say losing your soul is like chronic depression will eventually slip in. The mutation becomes bad enough over generations.
And all this madness is what they want, because then that perpetuates a tyrannical government where they can step in and say, look, nobody can figure anything out. You guys obviously need help.
Yes.
Hey, can you guys see what I'm seeing?
I can.
Okay, I'm just going to share it with John so he can also see it. Bear with me a second.
Oh, take your protein powders and put your helmets on.
Okay, so this is the end of the movie. This is the suit that he's wearing, moon landing suit. That's what he went out of. He's just opened the capsule door. The bit that I want to draw your attention to.
Look at all the flexibility of the suit with all that vacuum outside.
The bit I want you to pay attention to is the actual sequence with the launch. So you've got them building this rocket. I forgo you actually watching the building process in the hangar. But what does that remind you of? Oh, it's exactly the same as they actually presented.
But more Jules Verne. It's like in between Jules Verne and the real
underwater and outer space.
It's just the same exact
and
thing.
Thunderbirds. It looks like Thunderbirds.
But they're reeling out a massive rocket that they're built in a hangar on rails. It preceding
Have you guys?
by 40
Did
years.
I say the word Helios in there a minute ago?
Probably. Yeah. So anyway, check it out. The series, I've been struggling to find the time, but I have managed to get all the way through it now. Wagging the Moon Doggy, read by Taboo Conspiracy, or Ben. But yeah, check out Taboo Conspiracy 2. That's his channel.
Nice one, Nathan.
Video where
that is so weird. Wagging the Moon Doggy with wagging the dog.
I'm going to stick up for you, Nathan, in the little channels. I'm going to say he's onto it. He's been out here years. He's representing. He hasn't wavered. Shout out to NO.
Oh, me? Oh, thank you.
That's you.
Oh, well, I could always do with more cheerleaders. Subscribe today.
You get a hard time in the Discord. I'm in there daily now with the psychics. And they give it to you and Ranty and Riley, Gem Panda, Quartus, all the curved water, Twitwit. They all think they're onto it.
I always say dogs don't bark at parked cars. So if you're you better bet you're going to be attacked. And it just really shows that you're making a difference when all these trolls can't stop talking about you and you just live in their subconscious. Because they're so triggered.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, Merle, what did I miss?
Merle?
I don't know. Like, it's been a while since I've been out. This hyena messaged me, and that's why I'm here. But I do, I'm not trying to make it homo, but Pete Shea, Nathan Oakley, stupid old Dell in the shed, Riley, Ranty, everyone out here. Nathan. Chocolate, all crew, plain truth. This isn't the easiest road. There's no hotline for us to ring, no infrastructure. So I don't know. That's why I came over, just to give a bit of encouragement and support. Really, that's it.
Yeah, but when you go, I've seen you back people up before, and you backed them up when you support them through and through, and fought and argued with people. Now I think I've heard you say about going to other channels, and you will. What I'm going to see is you are going to back up Nathan, but it's going to cause a little bit of an earthquake or a tremor in these channels.
Yeah, no problem. I couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. Not here to make friends. I'm just here to align with people who are brave. Yeah, balls to the wall for real. I don't care. I don't care if everybody thinks I'm a fuckwit. Who cares?
That's right. No, I'm with you.
Don't be so potty mouth, Merle.
Well, when you're describing that,
I'm me.
do
When
the
you
Discord,
be you, I'll be
where
me.
do you?
You know, you want to swear, Jar?
Everyone's talking over everyone.
Big deal.
Go on, Anthony.
Hello, everyone's talking over everyone else. Anthony has a question for Merle.
Yeah, when you say that you do the Discord thing, do you mean, what does that mean, that you go to Gem Panda's server, or does it mean something else?
Yeah, I was in there the other day trying to get fucking Panda to shut his silly gob so you could say your point. I wanted to hear what you had to say. I was in there. Chemo.
You're on about when me and Jeremy were talking the other day?
Yeah, I've been in there for a couple of months. Like, after my friend Jez got stabbed by Poncho Pete, Mark Taylor sent him a link, and that's why I found it. But when I realized who was in there, I was like, I just rubbed my hands together. I was like, you're goddamn right. I'm going to sit in here and bring this heliocentric model down. It's coming
when
down.
You say things like,
whether they like it or not.
Hey guys, history shows that
like,
shifts come from individuals.
When you say things like Ranty and Nathan and I get hammered in Discord server, do you mean excuse me, do you mean hammered as in like personally attacked because we're morons or whatever, or do you mean that they actually challenge some of the things that we say?
It's
what I mean is I imagine that they would just be bitchy with us rather than address the points that we make.
Yeah, it's bitchy. It's bitchy. There's memes. You guys you have your own emoticons, the whole bit.
Okay, I just wanted to know what you meant in that context. I didn't know whether you meant that they actually address us or they just call us names.
Yeah,
I kind of expected
it
to
sounds
be just
like,
calling us
sorry
names.
to disappoint you, Anthony, but no, they're not going to actually have any arguments. It's just going to be totally based at your...
It's the same. It's the same for you, Riley, Anthony Riley, Nathan Oakley, Dell. Anybody who's making real points, they've got a fascinating way of twisting it and manipulating it. Tim Osman, Panda, Quartus, Curved, anyone you can twitwit. She's not that smart, but some of them are very clever at sophistry, sophisticated argumentation, and debating. And
Jem's got an argument.
Really their skill. That's their skill.
Jem's got an argument. Natural experiments with birds humping. Did you catch? Ask him about that one. You need to have him present.
Yeah,
that.
he thinks natural experiments are science. He's an idiot.
Just hold your line, AR. I know I've given you a hard time before, and I've seen the light. I was just in there in the shed, and for my own reasons, but I'm out of there. I've talked to Dell privately, but I respect what you're doing. I think we just need to stop having a go at each other and support and encourage each other a little bit, because we're taking it up to mainstream science, and that's the point, isn't it?
Oh, do you ever shut the fuck
mainstream
up?
pseudoscience.
Mm-hmm.
I was just sarcastically disagreeing with you for comedic effect.
Yeah, it's mainstream pseudoscience, and it depends what you mean by all get along together. Well, if people have rational thoughts and they can support what they say, then yeah, I'm going to get along with them. If they don't have rational thoughts and can't support what they say, then I'm not going to get along with them.
That's fair enough too. That's fine. I don't want to form a cult. I just know, like, if we join forces a little bit, that's
Well,
that's what needs to happen.
If you define cult,
But how can we join forces when there are certain people within the community, two particular ones, that do literally divide the community by not like working together with other people? They encourage to be independent and on your own. How can you work with anybody that's like that?
I think he's starting to see the light, Anthony.
Yep.
He is. I think he was afraid because John Smith came over and sat with him, Ali B, a bunch of them, Jubei, Phuket Word. There's a big crew out there, and then they all went out on their own. Egos got the better of them, but he is really burnt by what happened with Harry. That really hurt him.
Who are you talking about here?
Dell.
Really hurt about what happened with Harry? I'm not even familiar. What's happened with Harry that he got burnt by? I don't get it.
Well, John Smith came to Dell, right? And they were mates. They would go out and Harry would film and Dell would be up there front and center interviewing people, and you know what I mean? That's what happened.
I didn't know that. But they've fallen out.
Yeah, they fell out with each other. Or it was more just Harry went his own way. He wanted to do his own thing. But I don't know. You know what it's like.
I do know what it's like. Yeah, I don't know how we can be united when we've got intentional people that are disunited. There's two specific ones. There's another guy that's very divisive, doesn't help the community at all. He bats for himself, which is, if that's your bag, if that's the way that you genuinely see things, then fine. But I don't know why you would want to be that way, because encouraging division in a topic that we all fundamentally agree we're not on a ball seems backwards intuitive to me. It doesn't seem intuitive. It seems counterintuitive.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And I don't always agree with people on our side. Like, for instance, I don't always agree with things that John says, and I'll ask him for why do you say that? I don't understand, and then he'll explain it to me in the way that John, the way that John's got this pose, and we all know what I'm referring to, and I mean it with love, John. Don't react. But my point is that sometimes I don't understand things that he says, and I have to have it spoon-fed to me, and even then I still don't get it at the end of it. But that doesn't mean I disagree with him. But on some things he does say that I don't actually agree with, and I'll say, well, I'm not sure about that because I don't understand it, or I just think that there's another explanation for something. But it's the same with Nathan. It's the same with Arwin. We all don't see eye to eye. But what we should be able to do is have a respectful disagreement without it being this massive egotistical fight, because we're not all naturally going to agree with every part of everybody's journey, because we're all at a different point in the journey. But if we can all fundamentally agree that we're not on a sphere, I don't see why we can't have a little bit of diversity whilst we're all in our own journey. Right now, Bob can't get his head around the fact that there's not a universal up and down. Bob can't see that there is a universal density relationship created by the mediums that we're in. But Bob thinks that there's an up and down because up and down is the way things seem to fall. He hasn't got his head around it yet. Now, at some point, you probably will. But he's able to disagree with me in a way that's good, because it's necessary. We have to disagree with each other properly. However, somebody that's in a different part of his journey of a certain mentality isn't going to be able to disagree properly. And it causes us problems. But we should be able to identify the fact that we're not on a sphere. That should unite us, and it should encourage diversity, because we all have different views about what resonates with us and what doesn't. And ultimately, It's okay that we all don't necessarily agree. What matters is that we should be able to disagree properly. And at the moment, it's not like that at the moment. There's a lot of ego and a lot of pride, and there really shouldn't be.
Exactly.
Arwen said it
Exactly.
yesterday. I expect people to misbehave, and it's just people are weird units. And when you expect everyone to agree on something, some people defect. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably idealistic of me to say this, but I think there's an idea for some of us in the Renaissance when they held court with each other that it would have been freedom of expression and freedom of ideas, and the strongest ideas would have won. You know, but that it wouldn't have turned into a rabble and a knife fight.
No, but that's not true. It's only if the rulers allowed it. You have to understand that the entire Renaissance was guided by a group of pretty liberal, truly liberal in relation to the old ones, nobility that allowed it, but they also set the rules. So they allowed that to happen. So it's not entirely true. It didn't come totally grassroots. It was mostly the nobility among them that were debating all this, that were actually figuring it out, while the common folk were just doing typical jobs. No. And then later, during the industrial era, that's when it really became popularized, after education had really taken grassroots and everybody was getting some basic education. That's when it really spread to the common folk. But the women's suffrage and all that.
I hear you. I think when Aristotle and Plato and Euclid and Pythagoras and all those kinds of people, if they existed, were holding court with each other, I think there was a time when it wasn't like this, and it wasn't all about the control and constraint and all this sort of stuff. I think there was a time on Earth where it was more liberal. I do. We might not have lineage and history of it, documented, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Because we want that. Ultimately, those of us who are in this quest, that's what we want. We don't want to just be a rabble fighting each other for the glory. It's about ultimately what's real, what's true, what's objective, unbiased, and we've learned that along the way. But then subjectivity comes into it because it's about the individual, and what's best for Arwen might not be best for Merle or Anthony or Nathan or Cy or Nathan or anyone who's here. See what I mean?
Yep.
We've got to kind of agree to disagree and get along to get along. So
I'd agree with you if some of the things we discussed weren't an agree-disagree kind of deal. Some things are just so, and people will disagree with them nonetheless. And I've heard that put to me before. Why can't you just agree to disagree with somebody on this particular subject? And it's like, well, because I'm right and they're not. And it is just as simple as that in this instance. And you don't have to like it.
Correct. Yeah. Most of this isn't an agree-disagree subject, right?
But that's how I see it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we look into water or fire, the elements, right, and how they behave, it's really beyond opinion and what we want them to be. They have their behaviors and properties, and it's really nothing to do with human opinion. It is what it is, and that's what it's all about.
So, Nathan, this is what you do when you're two-timing? You got a lot of work to do with these videos, man. I didn't know that you put that much work into it.
Oh, am I sharing my screen with you?
You betcha.
Oh, I didn't realise. Yeah, I do put a lot of work in. You're not kidding.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, man.
What's funny?
Where's the Abacus app?
The audience can't see this, so just shh. Don't pretend it's happening by magic.
Real quick, guys, shout out the debate with Mick West. If you need tickets, madmikehughes.com.
Timmy Osmond was talking to him last night.
Yeah, I caught the first 5 minutes, but as soon as Mick West started talking, I felt slightly nauseated and had to leave.
Yeah.
Hey, Nathan, is that going to be delayed? Is there going to be a delayed, like a free option to listen to that?
Listen to what?
No, Nathan, the other Nathan.
Oh,
the,
sorry. My bad.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll pop up online afterwards. But the debate is only $10 for the day, so it's not like, you know, $200 like the New Zealand conference and stuff. It's pretty affordable. But yeah, it'll pop up. It'll be somewhere. I'll make sure I record it and get it on my channel if I have to.
All right, we're going to be evaluating it, right?
Dude, I'm trying not to let you guys down, bro. You know, I've been working on this for every day. So
all right, no pressure.
yeah, right. But it's all right. It helps when you have the
Hey Nathan, do you want to? I don't know whether you've already thought out how you're gonna address Mick West, but would you like? I'm not sure if you're familiar with our background to it, but would you like some points that we know that kill him?
What a lovely.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the moderator to tell me basically the outline so I can construct my arguments, because I don't know if I have a 5-minute introduction or 20-minute introduction. So
well, let us know if you want any content that you can attack him on, because there's lots of problems with his website that he does do tinkering, but he's very clever in how he does it. But one of the best ones to look at how light behaves in the atmosphere. He claims 76R. Well, that's following the curvature of a radius of an Earth, right? It's a curved line. It's a direct contradiction with Fermat's principle on the trajectory of light. It's completely wrong. And the other thing to look at or to consider is he claims that his 76R is based on the International Standard Atmosphere. And when you go into the link to the International Standard Atmosphere, nowhere in that International Standard Atmosphere link that he provides on his website, nowhere does it mention radius. So it's not based on the International Standard Atmosphere, but he claims it is. That's like a false statement of fact. It's misrepresentation of fact. Now, if it's a misrepresentation and he says that it's in other words, my alibi is based on the Queen telling the truth, right? But if my alibi of the Queen telling the truth doesn't even exist, then it's a lie. And he's claiming that his 76R is based on the International Standard Atmosphere. It's not. It's based on geometric curvature, and that's not based on the International Standard Atmosphere. The ISA gives 4 things that vary in the atmosphere that influence the light: pressure, density, gas law in molar form. There's one other, but his calculations are based on a radius. None of them are based on the temperature fluctuations or the gas law or the humidity. It's completely fallacious to claim that it is when it's not.
Right, he puts a link out there. It's a bluff. He knows that he knows that none of the cram munchers is going to click that link, because that's not what they do. So you have to go to that link. Can you show him that link, Anthony, where it is?
It's on the Metabunk curve calculator. It says 76R is based on Summit from the International Standard Atmosphere, and then he provides the hyperlink on the actual Metabunk curve page. So when you click that and then do a find on that page to see where radius is mentioned, it's not there. But when you read what it does say on the page that he links you to, it says that there's pressure, density, gas law in molar form, and then I can't remember the other one. But that's not based on 76R. When he's claiming that it is based on 76R, it's not at all. It's based on 4 variables that are nothing to do with what he's saying that it is to do with.
Right. It's a bluff. So go to his page, pull up his page, and then click that link on the calculator page.
Yeah. International Standard Atmosphere is the link.
Correctly, guys. They inverted the effects of refraction and made it bring objects above the horizon by extending Earth's radius out to like 4,500 miles. And larger.
Right. They don't use refraction. Refraction is not ever considered. So what they're using is very specific. It's terrestrial refraction. Now, terrestrial refraction is 76R. So they assume a radius and then attach some mathematics to it. It's literally sod all to do with anything to do with the atmosphere. That's what they've just tried to explain to you. So when you go to his website and you click on the link that describes what he calls standard refraction, in actuality terrestrial refraction, well, his link where it's talking about standard refraction talks about the things that Anthony's just detailed. But if you do a quick search on the page, it not once references R radius or 7/6 or anything to do with what he's referencing. In other words, it's a total bluff. It's nothing to do with refraction. Refraction's real. It's a bit like Coriolis effect, this. Yeah, refraction's real. Yeah, light refracts. Yeah, that happens. However, that's got sod all to do with 7/6R. That's a begging the question fallacy on steroids.
Right, exactly. You got it.
Wait, so are we talking about the day Mick West died on this show? Rest in peace.
Yeah, Mick West toe tag, yeah.
Yeah, and Nathan should listen to that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
you
it once.
should.
I'm going to revisit, guys. I've got 10 days until the debate, and 10 days for me is like 2 months for most people because I just retain information. So I'm going to get it. We're good. And I already got the main points. So I'm ready
Yeah,
for
we're
it.
good. We're good because there's no curvature, there's no rotation.
No,
Earth's
that's
not a
yeah.
ball. So either way, we're good. But yeah, good luck to you, brother.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I was thinking about that. I mean, a 10-year-old could go up there and explain flat Earth to people. It's not a hard concept. The only difficult part will be understanding his arguments and how to rip them to shreds. So
pay attention to the
Only
first few
difficult
words he
part
says.
I'm
I was
sorry.
just going to say that typically the most awkward detail will be out in the first breath. So
yeah, his question will be: do we agree that light refracts?
Yeah.
Riley, by the way, I wanted to tell you, I had a phone in 2 days, so I just saw the video that you did yesterday. I saw it last night. It was awesome.
Say again.
The video you did, your little experiment.
Oh,
I
the
just
egg
saw it
one.
yesterday. Yeah, the egg. Yeah, I just saw it yesterday. I haven't had a phone in a couple of days, so I haven't watched anything. But I did see that.
Yeah, apparently, I've misunderstood scientific method according to the dickheads. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
What
I
bit
saw all the
specifically did I get
baller
wrong?
haters. I was just like, wow, you guys don't really like science, huh? Look at you guys, all mad.
Hey guys,
Oh.
we're doing the Force the Line experiment in Denver tomorrow for observation. Sorry, John. But Force the Line. So if you want to check it out, follow me on YouTube, Nathan Thompson.
Yeah, I'm following you, bro. Keep doing those debates every night, right? Or
Almost
every other night or something like that?
It's just tough with the traveling that I do, you know. Like I've done 150 flat Earth meetups. Like my goal is not to be the dude on the internet. I want to go meet these people because in reality, flat earthers are amazing, bro. To question what you've been taught, you have to be humble. And then they're all just very caring and generous and stuff. So they're like the best people you could meet, and it's just mind blowing meeting like 3,000 of you guys. And I can't wait to like get over to Europe and meet you guys too. I think you're all awesome. So good times. Good time to be woke.
I'm looking forward to it too. Amsterdam should be good fun.
I want to go to Amsterdam, damn it.
Yeah, it was only cheap for us. You know, it's next door practically.
I guess you guys going to Amsterdam is like us crossing the state somewhere.
Yeah, we can get a plane over there for about 80 quid for the return. Buttons. I don't know why it's so cheap to go to Amsterdam when it should be like, I mean, it's still quite a journey. We can get it for buttons. I don't get it.
It's because airplanes don't use jet fuel to fly.
No, but what they do is they go through a pressurization cycle, and basically that's the lifespan of the plane. It's measured not by how many air miles it's traveled. It's measured by how many times it goes through a pressurization cycle. Because over time, that's where the fuselage loses its integrity over time. And I had read on this point in one of my first ever hangouts. He didn't understand what the pressurization cycle was in terms of the plane's lifespan. So really, if you've got a plane that's up and down, up and down, up and down, doing short journeys, it can't last as long as a plane that's doing long haul, because although it's doing more miles, it's not going through many pressurization cycles. So for me, like the shorter trips, I'd expect them to be more expensive because it's the lifespan of the plane that's directly being affected. but they're not for some reason. It seems mad.
Yeah, I did an interview with Nathan Reynolds. He was like in secret societies and an assassin, and he talks about how they like rev your engine all day long so that you can run faster than anyone and think at a higher level and everything. And he says eventually your body just quits. And like that, he was being trained to be one of those super soldiers. Definitely interesting interview. He witnessed all kinds of rituals and like human sacrifice and stuff. A lot of globeheads have a hard time realizing that stuff's real, and that's why they ask, "Why would they lie to me?" So that was a good interview. Check it out.
I'll just make the statement. I've said it before. I'm not convinced the jet fuel hoax that we've been hearing about. I spent 6 years in the military working around jet engines. So that whole thing about jet engines, it's a huge stretch for me. So, I mean, they may not be using as much fuel, but I still think they are using fuel.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
They
I'll
do
tell you
use
one.
fuel.
I agree. I think that they use the fuel to get it up in the air. Once you got your velocity built up at high altitudes, I don't think they need to use anywhere near as much as what they actually tell us. But what really made it work for me was Formula One. I saw that guy, I can't remember his name now, he got his channel deleted, but he was basically saying that there's no way that Formula One cars have got a 100-litre fuel tank behind the driver, because they've got the engine, they've got the gearbox, they've got all the ducting, turbo intakes and radiators and all that kind of stuff all around the driver. At the end of the day, 100 litres of fuel is 100 kilograms. It's like it weighs 100 kilograms roughly. That's a fish tank. Now, if you look at the size of a 100-litre fish tank, there's no way that they've got one of them behind that driver, because the space will be left for the engine, the gearbox, and all the ancillaries that plug into it. There wouldn't be any. And I realise that there's just no way that they're using the amount of fuel that they're telling us, and that's probably why they sound really weird at the minute. They don't sound like engines; they sound like air dryers.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to all of today's debating panel for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you need to keep yourself occupied after this stream is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!